Huh? Wait a minute. What's this? Soothing sounds for baby? What the hell?
Where we going, boys? Ugly town. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
They weren't, I think they operated outside of pop culture. They weren't thinking about some larger social trend. They were just making the music that they wanted to make.
And hey, if you don't like us, take it easy. I can understand it. Because if I was in the audience and I heard this and I was like you, I might not be that psyched, you know? And what if I don't like that type of music? It's okay if you don't like us.
Yes, because
I don't expect everyone to like us.
We also felt like got to be particularly out there musically because we weren't competing to be any like pop force. We were just really in this little bubble.
I'm drinking up space as my dreams run dry. Feast sustain some addition.
Some of our goals, we used to want to be like a punk rock King Crimson, be like really kind of complicated time signatures and a big sound, but also just like that kind of DIY punk 3-piece aesthetic.
Truth is what makes you condescend. Truth is the battleground between friends.
But definitely off-kilter rock, we sometimes called it.
How can you save the world? How can you save the world? When it was its.
It's great to play in a trio because each individual has to really contribute in order to make the overall sound like full and compelling. And Soothing Sounds were one of the all-time trios because they're all doing their individual thing to create this overall sound.
They were nothing like Rush, but when you look at Rush and how much sound they make for 3 guys, you look at Soothing Sound for Baby, it was the same deal. I mean, it was just like, how are they doing that? And their sound was so full with the harmonies.
You put some higher chords together, presto a song. Listening to stardom's vibrations, then play along.
I think they just took an innovative approach to songs, first of all, being rhythmically excited.
Soothing Sounds were doing these songs that had like the quickest changes in them. Like these changes would happen just so fast that they're in this change. You're like, what's going on here? And then they'll go back to the A again, and it's like you do not see these changes coming at all, and it just doesn't fit the 4/4 time signature block of straight ahead rock.
Al, Matt, and Tony all traded off being the lead singer in the band. They all wrote songs, and whenever they would write a song, they would usually sing that song. And so this kind of shared frontman, lead singer approach. But it was great watching them evolve throughout their career from beginning to end. A lot of bands start out as one thing and then they'll find a formula that works and they'll stick with it. Soothing Sounds for Baby started out with one thing, but then every year would write a completely new set of songs. In terms of a career arc, it kept arcing and arcing. It would never plateau. And they would never go back to, hey, let's play an old one from. Nope, we're doing these songs now.
For our career, we would write songs, but we wouldn't be like, oh, let's go G diminished into this chord. We would just make up chords, and we would try to make purposely dissonant kind of chord changes. That's why, like, I haven't played guitar. I mean, I'm way out of practice, and I feel like most of our songs I could never dream of playing at this point in my life because they were just so complicated, and we never wrote them down or anything. But one thing I should say about our style, often when writing songs and writing chords specifically, you'd write a note and then you put the notes to it, and if it was wrong, you'd fix it. But if it was too right, you'd fix it too.
Just figure out that part.
We were trying to make like dissonant chords like on purpose. Not all our songs. Sometimes we tried to write like more like Beatlesy pop songs as well, but often we just would create our own music just out of just putting notes together on the frets, you know, and chord changes that way, just sort of trial and error, and then just memorize them. And that's how we worked.
They were always so prolific, and it seemed like they'd go through periods where we'd play shows with them, and like it seemed like there'd be like Tony would be bringing in more songs, or Matt's got these new songs, and they were always like having new material.
Definitely influential, definitely inspired me, and I'm definitely still inspired to this day by them.
I'm Matt Caden.
I'm Alan Heifetz.
And I'm Tony Flack.
Take three people that have really good musical communication and you just redesign music from the ground up. You just decide to throw away every other model for how music is supposed to work and just make some very specific, peculiar thing.
Every man's a gun, every kill's a plan. I love you.
Soothing sounds for baby.
Soothing sounds for baby, ladies and gentlemen.
Soothing Sounds for Baby.
Soothing Sounds for Baby.
Yeah, Soothing Sounds for Baby.
I am thinking, I don't know what the fuck I think I'm saying. When I'm playing, I don't mind.
Soothing Sounds for Baby.
All the guys in Soothing Sounds, they all had their own distinct personalities that were always in effect when you were hanging out with those guys. Like Tony's like this really nice guy, like kind of soft-spoken, gentle, and Al was kind of like this super intellectual, almost like a John Bonham type. He always seemed really intense, and Matt was always like this total art. He was of the arts and vibration type. Like, that guy was always about music and thinking about music, and he was such a huge Beatles fan.
When I first encountered them, I thought that it was kind of like the Goons and Monty Python, where it's just a laugh a minute, and their comedy sketches were parallel to their music, and so it was all kind of part of the effect. You know, in many ways they were like the Beatles and the Monkees, where they were always in the studio doing these mind-bending albums and playing and stuff, and also creating these humorous sketches for their fans.
There was a tradition of making funny improvised videos with Alan's video camera called Al's Pals.
That is what they were called, isn't it? That's true.
You know, the feeling of going down the hill, really fast, just no control, falling on your face. It's the best feeling, you know?
This might be pretty silly, but you might say that your life has been going downhill ever since.
Shut up.
Tony Flacco was a huge influence on me as far as how understanding how funny a person could be, like on a regular basis. Because Tony's very, very funny, very naturally, in a way that was very subversive, that really appealed to me. It seemed like if you could act that way all day, you'd be sending such a strong message as far as how unacceptable the conventional wisdom was, that it, you know.
And from this fire came worms and dragons and strange shapes and signs of such heat to me. And it was twirling and shifting, and the people were awed by this. And the people then said, "This place is holy."
You could make the statement that they were, you know, trying not to take themselves too seriously. But I think by doing that, they probably were actually taking themselves, like, uber seriously.
Will this hurt me? I'd never do anything to hurt you.
They made all kinds of films when they were young, and also had a band going simultaneously. That they were such great filmmakers and such great musicians that it just seemed limitless what they could do. Like, there was no destination. They're like, we're a pop band.